Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing another makeup and bad movies, and today we're going to be talking about Death of Me. This movie is on Netflix, and this movie is just, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, I'm gonna have to give you that, but something about it is just so pieced together. It's just like it gives very what if. Hear me out. What if? That's how this movie was pitched. Anyway, let's get started. So the movie starts off with our main characters waking up in like a destroyed, like disheveled room, and they can't remember anything that happened from the night before. They're in Thailand, by the way. It takes a really, I don't know if they ever officially, I feel like they don't say that till like halfway through the movie, but they're in Thailand. They're in a small island. They're dirty, they're covered in dirt. Like the husband Neil has blood on his fingers or something like that. So then they leave. They're supposed to be leaving that day. They leave, they're taking a taxi to the ferry, and Christine points out to her husband, like, I got glue, I got hairspray in my fucking eyebrows. Christine points out to her husband that that the guy is going the wrong way. It's not the way to the ferry. And then Neil tries to like communicate with the taxi. He does this thing that I never understand when I see in like movies or shows, where the dudes will be like, people will be flipping back and forth in like those like language dictionaries. How does that work in real life? Because even if I can figure out what to say to you from this dictionary, presumably, how would I know what you just said to me? How would I know? Just because a word sounds a certain way doesn't mean that it's gonna have the letters that English speakers think they have in it. So how would you know how to go back in the book and look? Anyway, that's not even specific to this movie. They do that in a lot of fucking movies, and it never makes sense to me because... Anyway, so then the taxi driver is going back and forth with them, and then eventually just tells them to go out, to get out of the car. And then they presumably run to the ferry. We don't know how they get there. They run to the ferry, and this is where Christine figures out that her passport, wallet, and phone are missing. Now, please tell me why someone who's traveling, especially in a foreign country, would wait till they got to the airport, to the boat, to whatever, to check for their passport. Why would you leave your hotel, your Airbnb, your lodging of any kind without looking for your phone? You sat in a whole taxi and you didn't realize you didn't have your phone? Come on now, come on now, come on now. Let's be realistic here. So anyway, they can't get on the ferry back to the mainland because they have no IDs. Neil's passport is missing too, but not his phone. So then they go back to the Airbnb that they're staying at. They try and look for their stuff. It's not there. Neil is like a travel reporter or something, so he's been taking pictures, I guess, presumably on this whole trip. So then they decide to look on Neil's camera to see if they can find any clues to what happened last night, because like I said, they can't remember anything. And this is when they find a 2-hour-long video, which starts off with them getting drunk in some bar, and the waitress gives them like this special drink that she says, Island Magic. And then she gives Christine this necklace. This necklace, which I talked about in the beginning of the movie, I'm so sorry. It's this necklace, and when Christine woke up, she didn't ask about the necklace to the taxi, actually. Again, so many people are not asking enough questions for me, because she woke up with the necklace. We see her wake up with this necklace, but it's not till she gets in the taxi that she asks Neil, do you know where this necklace came from? Anyway, we see the waitress give Christine the necklace. They drink the drink. They start getting disoriented, drunk. There's a whole lot of like dark black footage. And then we see Neil and Christine bump uglies before Neil chokes Christine to death and buries her, which is strange because we're seeing Christine. Christine is watching this video, and she heard her neck snap. It was a very audible snap. It was disgusting. So yeah, Christine died somehow last night, and whatever. Christine naturally is upset with Neil because what the fuck did she just watch, you know? So Christine runs off into the bathroom. She starts freaking out. She rips the necklace off, and then as soon as she rips the necklace off, she starts vomiting blood, not blood, dirt and grass. And then Neil breaks in. He tries to like calm her down, whatever. The Airbnb owner comes back and she's like, what the fuck? Because Neil broke the door down. So then the Airbnb owner and Neil are talking. While they're talking, like the Airbnb owner, her name is Samantha. Samantha is telling Neil to take her to a doctor. And at the same time, Samantha's daughter runs over to Christine and puts the necklace back on her, and we literally see her immediately get better, which annoys me because this is the only scene where this happened. Christine proceeds to take on and off this necklace multiple fucking times, and only in this specific clip in the hotel do we see her immediately get sick after taking off the necklace and immediately get better after putting it back on. And we're supposed to, we as the viewers are supposed to understand, oh, the necklace has something, is doing something. But it just annoys me that they don't continue this trend of immediate sickness and immediate betterness with the necklace, because maybe Christine could have figured that shit out herself, except there starts being delays. Anyway, they go see the doctor. The doctor manages to communicate to them that the drink they had just gave them hallucinations. He calls it like nama prai. I'm so sorry if I butcher that. It just gave them hallucinations. They're fine, blah, 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 you know, nothing to be worried about. So Christine is naturally freaking out on Neil because, you know, she watched this man kill her. And then they go out to eat at some cafe, and Neil and Christine takes the necklace off again because this woman was looking at it weird, so whatever. And that leads to, you guessed it, her throwing up dirt again. But this time, like, a snake comes out of her mouth. Like, she pulled, the scene was so, the scene is interesting because it's just the way she pulled the snake out, like. Anyway, I have some questions about this, but we're gonna be back to it later, you know, once the whole thing in the movie is revealed. So she pulls a snake out of her mouth. She's throwing up dirt in the bathroom. At the same time, Neil, like I said, he's a travel reporter, so he's trying to get content because there's some kind of festival going on in the town. And as he's like recording this little clip on his phone, some man comes and snatches the phone out of his hand and deletes a bunch of clips. I don't know. He deletes some clips, which they never come back to. I don't know why this was necessary. They never come back to this. We're not really sure. We saw him in the photo album deleting a clip. I'm not sure what he deleted exactly. He deleted something. They never come back to this. And also, if they have Airbnb, I'm sure they have their recently deleted folder on iPhone. So I'm not, again, not sure why this was put in here, but none of this movie makes sense, so I'm not really gonna question too much. So naturally, in all of that excitement, Neil has lost track of Christine, and then we have these weird clips of, cause while Neil's looking for Christine, he does this thing, I hate when people do this, where they just like walk around in the same 10 feet and keep shouting the person's name. There are more effective ways to look for people, and if she didn't hear you the first 2 times that you called her name, she's not hearing distance, okay? She can't hear you. Either she can't hear you or she's not in this vicinity. Move somewhere else. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but like, it bothers me. Anyway, so while she's like, he's looking for her, there's these weird clips of Christine on some table and people are like hovering over her, their eyes are so shut. It's supposed to be scary, I feel like, but it doesn't hit. It doesn't hit. And the music that they play whenever something is creepy is going on, the music's supposed to be eerie, but it's kind of good. Like, the song is kind of good. So again, the scenes, it's not really hitting. So then Neil finally finds her. She's laying in a back alley and she's just cut on her arm. And then while they're discussing that the fact that one of the masks from the festival looks just like Christine. It's literally a white face with brown hair. It could have been any white woman. I mean, Christine isn't white, she's Asian, but it literally could have been, it could have been anybody who wasn't Thai. I can't say that right. I can't say THs right, but who isn't from Thailand. I don't know why they automatically assumed that it was Christine, but they did. So then they find their way to what I guess you would consider a tattoo shop. The lady who's in there is like marking on somebody's body. So the best way I could describe it is a tattoo shop. I don't know if that's the right name for what they do in their culture, but that's the best way I would describe it, as a tattoo shop. So they make their way into the tattoo shop, and Christine asks that lady who's doing the tattoos if she knows anything about the necklace. And the lady tells her that like it's an honor on the island, it's a special gift for a celebrated guest or whatever. Then they ask the lady if she knows where they can find Maddie. Maddie is the waitress from the bar, from the video. The lady tells them where to find Maddie's bar. And she also recommends that they don't go there because it's not for Westerners. So they make it back to they make it to the bar. Maddie gives Neil his passport. She says he left it there, but she doesn't have Christine's passport or her phone. Then they go back to the Airbnb, and Neil tells Christine that he found a fisherman that will take them to the mainland, because remember, they're trying to get off the island. So then Christine is like, oh my God, nobody knows that we're here, you know, still. Because they were supposed to leave like this morning, you know, they were supposed to already be on a plane landing, presumably. She's like, nobody knows that we're here. So she asks Neil for his phone, and she goes a few feet away to try and make a phone call. So I completely forgot to mention while filming that there is a scene, like while Christine is trying to make the phone call, she sees a clip of Neil saying, we're never gonna get off this island and we're gonna die here, on his phone. And she sees that right before he kills himself. And it's just never brought up again, like how he would even record that, when he would record that. Like, they haven't been apart. So when he recorded that, because the background, like they haven't, none of it makes sense. When did he record that? Why did he record that? What was the purpose? What were even the chances that Christine was going to see that if someone mind controlled him into making that video? Like, this, like they just did it for fuck's sakes. Like, oh, that'll be creepy. But it's not. It just doesn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. And they, again, never came back to it. Like half the shit in this movie. It is during this time where things start getting this like distorted and stuff. I'm pretty sure that Samantha, the Airbnb owner, drugged them, because they both like drank something while they were in the Airbnb, like in the Airbnb with her. And Neil guts himself. It's disgusting. The scene was unnecessarily nasty. He was carving himself up and then pulls his intestines out. I'm not really sure why all of that needed to be done. Like, I feel like he could have just, you know, just a little quick little stab. It's so nasty. Like, he pulls all his intestines out, it's laying on the dock, and then he falls into the water. And so Christine runs up to him. She's like freaking out. She doesn't even see his body where it presumably fell into the water, and she passes out. And when she wakes up, Samantha and some police officer are standing there asking her what happened, because I guess people heard her screaming or whatever. And she's trying to say, like, my husband, like, he fell into the water. But when we look back over to the lake, because she's not too far, the tide is out. And that's what they're saying. They're like, the tide has been out. There's no way he could have fell from the edge of the pier into the water, because there's no water there, sweetie. So they're all making her try to, like, seem crazy. And so even the fisherman that was there said, no, it was only her. I never saw anybody else. It's just her. So Christine has Samantha drive her back to Maddie's bar. And while they're in the car, we hear another radio broadcast about the typhoon. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning, but in the very beginning of the movie, I don't feel like I said this, when they're like waking up and they're all like, oh my God, like what happened last night? There's a news report going on about how there's a typhoon that's gonna hit and it's like really big, whatever. So when they're in the car, we're hearing again about the typhoon. Side note, why was it in English? I know it's for our benefit, but like it doesn't make sense logistically. Anyway, it was in English about how it's the worst one. And Christine's all like, aren't you guys, like, what are you guys gonna do during the storm? And Samantha's like, a storm hasn't hit here in 200 years. Like, we're not worried, basically. This is important, remember this. Christine goes to the bar. She has another one of those weird hallucinations, possibly real. They're definitely real, but we believe them as the viewers that current moment to be hallucinations of like people standing over her. And this doesn't make sense as you're watching it, but now, since I watched it again, I know that they put something inside of her womb. They put something there. But when you watch it the first time, like, it doesn't kind of make sense, but when you watch it back, you realize that they're spreading her legs and they have something jiggling in a bag. They put something inside of her. And then we cut to her waking up on Samantha's couch. And Samantha's like, what the fuck, how did I get back? Not Samantha. What's her face? Christine. Christine's like, how the fuck did I get here? Samantha's like, you don't remember? Like, you passed out as soon as you got out of the car. And then Samantha urges Christine to go to the doctor, which is so stupid to me, looking back now, because Samantha, we find out that Samantha knows what the fuck is going on this entire time. Why the fuck do you keep pushing her to go to the doctor? Like, you have there's no gain from this for you. Like, you don't look like a better person, and you're literally pushing her. You're pushing her. You pushed Neil the first time, and now you're pushing her, and it's like, why? What do you gain from this? She didn't want to go to the doctor, and you know what the fuck is wrong with her. You know. So what's the point? I feel like it was just like a waste of time to push the plot around. Except this time going to the doctor, I guess, was kind of necessary, because we learned that Christine's pregnant, which is a shock to her because she's infertile. They don't tell us outright that she's infertile, but it's kind of implied that she was infertile. This foundation is slightly too dark. Just slightly. Anyway. So then they listen to the baby's heartbeat. Anyway, then the lights start flickering and Christine starts she starts writhing in pain. And then we look over on the ultrasound and it looks like a fucking dinosaur, some type of reptilian creature. So if you think back to when I said when she was at Maddie's bar and they put something in her, that whole thing wriggling a bag, they put that in her womb. That's what's in her. She didn't get pregnant by Neil. So Christine runs from the doctor's place and she runs to the tattoo shop to speak to Conda. How the fuck she knows Conda's name again? Because Conda's name has never been stated before this moment until Christine says it. How the fuck did you know her name? That's just something that's very small that bothers me. The Conda then explains to her, not quite dead and she's not quite living, and that the necklace is keeping her is keeping the scales from tipping. I'm so sorry. Is keeping the scales from tipping. And that currently Christine exists on a spiritual plane where the spirits are preparing her for the final ritual. And then Conda explains that they've been doing this for hundreds of years. They bury pregnant women under the town and it helps them get what they want. Like for instance, they're gonna bury her for protection from the storm. So the thing that was in their drink that first night was corpse oil, and which leads you to be more susceptible, can control your mind basically. And this is why Neil killed and buried her. So then they make a deal, Conda and Christine, they make a deal. If Conda helps Christine get off the island, Christine will give Conda the necklace to give to her sick son. Her son is sick. Like, he's gray. Which doesn't make any sense to me, not the son. The necklace exchange, because we literally just said less than like 10 seconds ago that this necklace is keeping Christine alive, basically. Not alive, but not alive. So how the fuck can she give it away? Because she will collapse. She will start coughing up dirt again. Didn't we just establish that, or am I tripping? So the doctor comes by, Christine hides, the doctor and Conda have this whole conversation in Thai, which irritates me because there's no subtitles. We get no context for this conversation, except we can see that Conda is like visibly nervous, and that's all we get. I have no idea. Honestly, I assume that the doctor's coming by to give her stuff for her son, because I hate when movies do this. Stop having people have like a few sentences or whatever, but like full on conversations in another language, and we don't get subtitles. We don't even like, we get no body, we get nothing. So if it wasn't important, why did you leave this here? So the doctor discovers that Conda's hiding something behind her back. We don't know what it is, a vial of something. And then he whispers in her ear. I'm making the assumption that he probably made her drink some of that corpse oil that Neil was given. Because then Christine comes out and Conda is stabbing her. So when Christine runs out of there, she runs into Samantha, and Samantha says that she'll take her to the ferry. So then they're in the car, and Samantha's daughter is like, Mom, this isn't the way to the ferry. You're breaking the rules. She wants to go to the ferry, so we have to take her. So Christine tells her to stop the car. Samantha does not. And Samantha again confirms that the people engaged in a ritual sacrifice. When she came here, she had like stage 3 cancer, and now she's healed and she's happy. We find out that Samantha's daughter isn't actually her daughter. The daughter's actual mom was part of the sacrifice, like had been previously sacrificed. She volunteered because it's such an honor, blah, 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 blah. This was actually a nice scene. I like this. Something about this was very badass. Christine puts her seatbelt on and shoots Samantha in the head. She took a gun from Conda's shop before she left, and shoots Samantha in the head. The car crashes, and then Christine runs out into the forest. I'm guessing she's trying to make her way to the ferry. I don't know why she didn't follow the main road, but she didn't. So she starts running to the forest, and then all the natives, let me say locals, not natives. All the locals find her. I think they knocked her out or she passed out. And they carry her to another part of the forest in front of these big doors. So night falls, she wakes up, she opens the door, she walks down this line of people. They throw a bunch of powder at her, and that makes her pass out again. She passes out so fucking often in this movie, my lord. But the thing I do have to say is, if they have this whole ritual, why the fuck why did they need to what is it called, mind control Neil into killing her if they had a whole ritual to do anyway? Like, does she have to be half dead for this ritual to work? Like, they never explained that. Something about that really bothered me. Like, Neil killed her and buried her. What was the purpose of that? If you're going to go through this whole ritual, if you have this whole ritual planned anyway, where you guys are presumably gonna kill her and bury her again, because the pregnant woman has to be buried in order for the sacrifice to work. I'm not understanding, like, what was the point of Neil killing her first? Like, I really wish like some of this lore had been explained more. So then they tie her up. When she wakes, they like tie her up. She is tied up to this pole. So Maddie has, like, when she wakes up, Maddie gives this whole speech about how it's such an honor and they've been doing this for hundreds of years, and then begins to sew her eyes shut. And then Christine managed to get free of her restraints, and she starts fighting back. And then Maddie stops. She's like, guys, stop. It has to be her choice. Why all of a sudden is it her choice? Because she's been actively, verbally protesting from the moment she woke up. Like, in this particular scene. The whole time you're giving that whole spiel about free will and honor and da-da-da. You think things are free will, but they're not. Because they try to tell her, like, you had free will. You could have left the island whenever you want. Like, the police officer dude offered you a boat, and you wanted to stay and look for your husband like a dummy, even though you saw him kill himself. Girl, you know he was dead, but you stayed. Anyway, she has that whole speech, but it's all, no, guys, it has to be her choice. She asked you to untie her like two seconds ago. She's like, I have free will, right? Untie me. and you ignored her. Like, she's been saying actively, I want nothing to do with this but free choice. Like, it has to be her choice, free will, blah. And then something that actually really bothered me is that they're like, it's such an honor, right? People volunteer to be a sacrifice because it's such an honor. Then pick a goddamn volunteer. Why would you pick a random fucking tourist and expect them to be willing to sacrifice themselves for your island? They don't know any of you. Like, I don't understand why you would pick a tourist. Like, so Christine is like getting ready to leave because like she's free and they're like, they can't stop her because it has to be her choice, right? And the little girl, the little daughter, whatever from before, is like, Christine, please stay. Please stay, like, save us. I'll die. We'll all die. And then Christine's like, it's not real. And Christine's like, it's not real. And then she runs away, and then they fucking chase her. But it has to be her choice, right? But they all start fucking chasing her. So she makes it onto this little, I don't know what to call it, but it looks like a raft, but it has a motor on it, which is confusing because it literally looks like a plastic, like a blow up raft, but it has a motor on it. She makes it onto the raft, and mind you, it's already started raining because the storm is coming. So then we cut to a report of how the typhoon pretty much missed all of the islands except that specific island, that tiny ass island, and it's been leveled. Like, it devastated them. So it's like, oh, you know, it's the first typhoon, this is the first storm that hit them in 200 years, and it's bad, whatever. And so we go back and we see Christine is still on that raft in the middle of the ocean, and some rescuers pull up to see if she's alive or not. She's not, she's dead. But that necklace somehow is still next to her on the boat, which makes no sense to me because we literally saw her going out into the ocean and we saw how big some of these waves are. And if you guys don't know what a typhoon are, like, typhoons are fucking serious. But somehow that necklace made it off of her neck, but managed to stay in the goddamn boat. The fact that she even managed to stay in the boat is insane to me. So then the movie ends with a bunch of, like, we see a bunch of, like, body bags on the shore, and Christine is in one of them, and somebody throws the necklace into the bag. And I guess because the first time I watched this, I was like, how the fuck, okay, how the fuck would she be able to, because she opens her eyes, they throw the necklace back in, we see the camera come over the body bag, and she opens her eyes, and the movie ends. And I was like, how the fuck, if all it took was the necklace being next to her, she would have been alive in that goddamn raft in the middle of the ocean. But I guess, as I'm seeing it again, I guess because it landed directly right, like, on her throat, on her clavicle, that was, like, wearing it, and that's why she opened her eyes. So maybe Christine's alive, maybe she's not, I don't fucking know. I wouldn't want to be alive like that, but this movie was just so insanely racist. I'm not gonna say insanely racist, but a lot of racist undertones, because, oh, let's have all these small, like, natives from this island kill somebody. That just don't sit right with me. And it just didn't make sense overall. Like, it just didn't, like, things weren't explained, like why the fuck Neil had to kill her. And it's like, it had a very interesting premise because, like, the summary when you open up Netflix is just like a couple awakens to find a video of one of them being killed. That's wow. And it just, once you figure out why, you're just like, okay. That's it. That's all I have to say is Anyway, if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, especially if you have another movie that you want me to check out. If you aren't already, go ahead and make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.